Xbox, Record This is a podcast celebrating all things gaming, food, and the good old days. If you'd like to find out more, head to xboxrecordthis.com. What do you guys do with the long eyebrow hairs? How
pull them?
you don't have does anyone know if there's a trimmer? Can you use
you just pluck
clippers?
Jesus. Just
no,
pluck
don't
it.
pluck it. You're going to have no eyebrows eventually. Leave them.
Oh, hello. Daddy Diwali here, and welcome to Xbox Record This, episode 21. Joining me, as always, is the assistant to the co-host, Trolley Bear. Trolley Bear, how are you, my friend?
You know what? I am doing great. We just got to get off a little bit of the Halo Infinite multiplayer preview. I know we're going to talk more about it, but it got me super jazzed. Happy to be here. It's Friday night after a long week, so feels real great. Thanks for asking.
Yes. Well, let's save the impressions just so you guys know. We'll save it till we get to the Halo news, and that's when I'll get the impressions. Joining us, as always, the assistant to the co-host, Bubble Boy and Seven. Bubble Boy, how are you, my friend?
Great. Yeah, and same echo Jose, and thankful that my other two partners here were willing to audible last minute last night with the bedtime struggles that have been going down at Siegel House with a new baby. But I think it was cool because then we'll get to talk about some of that flighting stuff. So
I think it did work out. And before Chance says anything, you guys, he's going to brag about how he beat me in score in Halo Infinite. And yes, he had a higher kill death than me in one game, but it did not happen again after that. So we'll get to that later. Chance, so supposedly you guys, Bubble Boy and Seven, has some sort of soapbox that he wants to stand on top of. That's what is that, 1920s thing? And he is this related to gaming or life or let's just get it over with, forget it.
It's purely political. I'm kidding.
Okay.
Jesus, no.
All right, here we go. 2-minute mark, Chance's soapbox rant. Rant.
So
okay.
I couldn't help but think a little bit more. I was like, man, I do not understand how someone could say that any of those Xbox studios haven't deserved a Marvel franchise or a Marvel game. So I went through and I paired quite a few more. Not like an exhaustive 48-minute list, but I did put a little bit of work behind this. And I will start by saying the fact that I left off Bethesda and 343 because, my goodness, of course, they would do any of them and they would crush them. And nobody could argue with that. What they've already done up to this point with Halo and Skyrim and Fallout and all those things, you can't tell me they wouldn't make an incredible game, right? So of the other my goodness, I need to go get some water. Some of the Microsoft-owned studios, I had some standouts that just made sense to me. And so the first one, and you'll appreciate this probably, D-Wally for sure, is Arcane Studios. So what have they done? They've done fantasy really well.
Prey, phenomenal.
Yep, and they've done space really well.
Stealth action.
Stealth, space, fantasy, action. What better than The Mandalorian? So Arcane Studios does The Mandalorian. Okay, that would be my...
As a first-person game, Mandalorian? Yeah, it had to be.
They all do third person.
Most of these I wasn't entirely...
I think you got to switch it up and go first-person here. I like it. Regardless, okay. I mean, Arcane doing anything, I don't care. Deathloop got amazing reviews. So
yeah, and that's why I'm like, come on. So, and the next one, Double Fine, which is a company that we've been enjoying a lot lately with Psychonauts. Does Thor, and I think about it from the lens that they also did Brutal Legend, and I think there's quite a bit of crossover there.
Awesome, a Thor Ragnarok.
Could be, and because the Thor Ragnarok was so funny, and I think Double Fine would be really good at making some of the clever puns and all that kind of stuff.
And I would appreciate a completely unique art style. Don't even make it I was reading that someone had a problem. Well, we've seen other Thor. We've only seen the Marvel Thor, right? Versus, I think it was Chris Reagan on Sacred Symbols, and he was saying why we're more accepting to accept Spider-Man in different variations because we've seen him in different movies, different lead roles, different video game characters, and that's why more people accept that. Whereas when we saw this Thor and Iron Man and the Avengers, we're like, well, these are like knockoff versions of the movie, and that's not cool. So you're right. Give us something completely different. Whereas, we've expected him as one, since the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So yeah, I love it. I love it. I love Double Fine. That'd be a great game.
Keeps going, keeps getting better. So, id does the Hulk, right? And so Doom is all about destruction and just blowing everything to pieces, right? And what better Marvel character than the Hulk to do that? I imagine it would have to be a third-person game. I'm not positive what it would be like as a first person with Hulk, unless you're just running around with big fists in front of you. But that could be just
that could be
cool.
cool. Though.
It would work. The movement in Doom could just be Thor running around like us and shredding people and tearing stuff apart.
Yep.
Like you're on to something. I'm gonna have to clip this. This might be Bubble Boy's finest moment. He might get his own clip on YouTube.
It really
Keep
stuck
going.
with me, and I was like, there are studios that were like seriously perfect for this thing. Okay, this one is close to my heart, and you're both gonna be mad, and you're like, you got to stop talking about this company in this game. But Ninja Theory, I think, would do an incredible either Thanos, just because they kind of do the dark. Not that Sentinel was a bad guy or anything, but I think Thanos is, as much as he, with the snap, and he was as bad as a bad guy gets. Like, he had what he thought was really noble intentions behind what he was doing, and we're not going to get into the politics of that, but I think he probably considered himself a good guy. I also think Ninja Theory could do Moon Knight. I don't know a ton about Moon Knight because the ones that I read were the ones that like pissed me off. Like I said, those like, what was it, Bloodspot or Bloodshot ones?
Bloodshot.
Where the first couple of Moon Knights I read was just over the top violence, and then they bleeped out like the SH word, right? And I was like, come on.
Well,
guys.
and the Moon Knight movie's coming out, right? Oscar Isaac, I think, got cast as Moon Knight, right?
And I'll watch it.
Chance, let me just say this too about Ninja Theory. I think they made a great job with Senwed. Don't think like just because I didn't love it as much as you, I didn't, absolutely respect.
Oh no, I know that. I
what
just
a
talk about it too
fantastic
much.
game that was.
Yeah,
No,
totally,
Ninja
for
Theory
sure.
is great. Like I'm excited for the sequel. Hands down.
I just talk about it too much. But I think Moon Knight also, for those of you who don't know as much about comic books.
I don't know who
Well,
Moon Knight is.
that was Marvel's kind of not answer, but answer to Batman, because at the time Marvel didn't have a ton of like really dark, gritty characters with like a troubled past or anything. And so there's a ton of the other side of that was there's a ton of mental health stuff that goes along with Moon Knight's character that I think is kind of cool. The next one, and this would probably actually be my pick of all of them. I was just like, oh man, I got so jazzed when I saw this one. So Playground does Iron Man and War Machine. Playground that does Fable as well as Horizon, which are the Horizon games, right? So like Man meets Machine, Iron Man and War Machine. I just think it could be entirely.
You could have your own radio in the suit. That'd be super fun, dude.
They absolutely could nail anything they do.
They would
Another
be
studio
perfect
that's
for it.
underrated.
Okay,
Yep.
So again, just match made in heaven. And then this one probably felt a little forced, but I was just like, I have to get both of these on here somehow. And it was Rare Studios and X-Men. I feel like they got to do Pirates of the Caribbean, which is a massive, massive franchise. Why couldn't they do X-Men? Rare
and a Disney franchise already.
right?
And exactly.
Yeah,
and
like a
imagine in
big
that
Disney
art style
franchise.
too. I'd be all about that.
I think it would be
Sea of
so
Thieves is
perfect.
still beautiful, like highly underrated technically.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that
So
all
and
of
then the last one I already talked about last week was Coalition and the Punisher. It just seems too stupid not to do, right?
So
Yeah. You know, what would be another
I'm
awesome.
so glad.
Another awesome arcane one would have been Black Panther. Stealth and like hiding and stuff would be super
Yeah.
tight.
Oh, that would have been and we could go on. We could have like our own show about this kind of thing. But those were just the ones that I was like, man, come on.
Well, Xbox, Phil Spencer, big fan of the show. I know you're listening. I think Bubble Boy is onto something here, and all of those ideas were absolutely fantastic. And the whole argument: would Disney trust any of the Xbox studios with any of these games that Chance mentioned? Absolutely yes, and they're all fantastic ideas.
Yep.
So,
So which one would you guys play if you could only play one of those?
That's a tough one. Jose, do you
I
know
can
which
read them
one?
off if
Yeah,
you don't
read them
remember.
off really good.
So Arcane does The Mandalorian, Double Fine does Thor, id does Hulk, Ninja Theory does probably Moon Knight, Playground, Iron Man and War Machine, Rare does X-Men, Coalition does The Punisher.
My
My
top.
picks would be.
Go ahead, Dan. You first.
Let me. So yeah, my pick would be. That's tough, but thinking about that Hulk Doom, I think that would be pretty sweet, and also the Double Fine Thor. I think that'd be hilarious if you could nail the character right. I'm just loving Double Fine right now, and then my other one would be the X-Men in that art style with Rare. I don't know if they could handle that, or not necessarily handle that. Could they? They haven't really done an action game, but I guess maybe like Banjo is old Rare game, right? Like I don't know. I guess they could probably do something like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, like
And
in that art
that's
style.
the kind
would
of
be
stuff
cool.
though that like it's they're being kind of typecast, right? And
Yeah,
it's
good point.
like remember when Adam Sandler first started doing what was it Spanglish when he
Yeah,
was doing
serious
more
movies,
dramatic
yeah.
roles and
And then
stuff
he's
like that.
nominated
Like,
for what was that movie on Netflix?
The Diamond one.
The Diamond one. Yeah, gosh, what was that? Where he should have won, but yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
everyone
good.
knows what we're talking about. Jose, what do you?
Uncut
what was
Gems.
Yeah, Uncut Gems. Yep, there. Jose, what about you?
I mean, the one that I would love to see because he's my favorite Avenger is the Iron Man War Machine one. And I mean, Playground has done some sick games. Like that could be really, really fun. I'd love to see that done well. But I would admit part of what made Iron Man so great in the movies was Robert Downey Jr. It was like that very arrogant attitude, and so you kind of that might be hard maybe to mimic in a game. I was also thinking about the Thor one. I just think that'd be fun, like because Brutal Legend was a fun game, and the Jack Black Wright was the main character I think in the game, the voice of it. And then I'm also with Dan. The X-Men. I would like to see a really cool full X-Men game, but part of the issue with X-Men is finding like the story arc that you want to follow, because X-Men is a pretty big universe in and of itself, if you even leaving out all the other Marvel people.
Yeah.
And so are you talking about like the Sentinels? Are you talking about like some of the like time travel stuff, and you get into like Cable and Bishop and that kind of stuff? Like there's just a lot of ways you could go, but even going old school like the Sentinels, that could be a really
Yeah, I say
cartoony fun way to
Sentinels.
do it. Would be super cool. So yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
my choice. How about you, Bubba Boy?
Well, he gave us all those.
I mean I
Any of them.
No, he can only pick one though. He's supposed to pick one.
oh god, okay.
Give me three.
The Iron Man War Machine would probably be
Really?
my number. Oh yeah, I just and again
You guys, an Iron Man. He's cool, but
for a video game you could do so many things.
we already had
so
that
many
though.
cool
Remember?
things. And
From BioWare, Anthem.
He was
okay,
great.
I was for a second there. I was like, wait, was this that VR game I missed? I don't know. No, and then the Hulk and id. That'd be really hard.
I think that would be.
Cool.
I think you're onto something, man. And I haven't heard that yet. So good ideas there, Bubba Boy and Seven. I'm going to make sure and clip this. Let's move on, guys, to warm up question. And this week, Daddy Diwali wrote in and he said, "Hey guys, love the show. All three of you, pretty sweet, but Daddy Diwali, I mean, he's the host. He's the best. Anyway, can you guys tell me your top 5 PlayStation 1 games of all time?" And I know this is an Xbox podcast, but we love all gaming and we grew up playing all the great systems. So let's recognize, respect where it's deserved. So does anyone want to go first with their top 5 PlayStation 1 games, or shall I go first?
I can go first if you want.
All right,
I know you're going to make
lead
fun
the
of
way.
mine, and I
Yeah,
know at least
I
one of
remember
them.
we talked a little bit about this, Jose, but I'm interested to hear yours and Chance all the way through here.
My number 5, and I had a lot of fun looking back at PlayStation. Like I think it's been so long. I mean, it's a very long time ago. The PS1, going back through and thinking about games and what I played. My number 5 was Gex the Gecko, which honestly I think was an underrated IP. I know they had some sequels. The sequels did not do well. I would love to see Gex make a comeback because I thought it was a super fun game, side-scrolling game, platformer. Number 4 was Spyro the Dragon. I played a lot of Spyro. Like that was actually, I thought, a really fun game. I love that they did the remastered trilogy not too long ago. Number 3 for me was Tony Hawk's Skateboarding. Number 2, which was God, and I know they just remade that too, but it was such a good game. I put a lot of hours. The soundtrack was super awesome. And the sequel, the second one it just really capitalized on everything that the first one did so well and added, which was awesome. Number 2, you knew it was going to be in the top 5 list, was Final Fantasy VII. Such a great game. So monumental and timeless in so many ways. And then my number 1, I'm sure you probably could both guess, Resident Evil 2, because I just love that series. And that was such a incredible game for the time. And then just real quick, two honorable mentions that I just had to mention were Twisted Metal. We've talked about them before, but that was a cool PlayStation game, Twisted Metal 2, actually. And then one that I actually didn't play a lot, but I just remember that was really good marketing and so iconic for the PS1 was Parappa the Rapper. Such a weird, different game, and they did a great marketing job. I just thought it was worth mentioning for all those younger kids that may not know. So those are my
great marketing. And then you played it and beat it after like 3 hours. Then the game was over, and you never.
Hey, that's what you've been asking for that.
Yeah, you like the short games.
Well, I know. Well, Jose, let me redeem your list because it was pretty caca up until the top three.
Come on,
there.
it's his list.
Okay, I want to see what your list is.
Number 5. NFL Game Day 98. And I don't know if Bubble Boy remembers the Game Day series, but Game Day was the competitor to Madden at the time. And 97, if you just ran along the sideline, you could just stiff arm and you would just, nobody could stop you. You just literally punch them and they'd fall to the ground. But 98.
Who would you have been running with back? Oh, TD.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But the best one was 98 because it was those blocky characters. I remember that's when they really stepped up the graphics, and I had it down to where I could do the one-handed interception with my safety. I remember I picked off Manning. I think he was in the league then, like 20 times or something like that. Or somebody, I picked him off like 20 times in a game because it was just so stupid. Number 4.
Tom Brady probably was.
Well,
fun fact.
He wasn't. I know he wasn't, but yeah,
fun fact, I got a free PlayStation 1 from Terrell Davis himself. Did you guys know that?
What? We're going to talk about that after this segment. We'll talk about that. Yeah. Number 4, Gran Turismo. Started my love for cars. I'd always immediately buy a Honda Civic and, just pretend that I souped it up and started my racing career. I'll never forget. I would always pick the Mitsubishi GT 3000. Yep, exactly. Yep. Awesome, amazing car, all-wheel drive, unstoppable. Got me into racing games, got me into cars. Shout out to Gran Turismo. Number 3, and I combine them because I love them both. Final Fantasy 8 and 7. Those games really... 7 was more out of respect because I'm more of an 8 guy myself, but 7 was the first one I played, and I played it late. But then once I played 8 and saw the jump in graphics and gameplay and everything, I was like, 8 to me was a superior game. Number 2, like Jose said, the great one, Resident Evil 2. What just a fantastic genre defining game. Got me into the survival horror. Another one where I thought the graphics were crazy. And then number 1, and I'm sad that Chapeau Bear didn't mention this, but he probably didn't play it, Metal Gear Solid. We talk about this game all the time. It has to be. I was thinking about this as much as I, joke on Hideo. We probably bring up Metal Gear at least once at a time in the show. So that proves what kind of a great masterpiece of a game. And I was just thinking about it the other day, like the graphics were good, but like, remember the faces were just like blurred out, like blahs, and like, it wasn't anything good, like special, but the voice acting and like the characters and the story, like it was just something else. So I'd never seen that in a video game. So shout out to Hideo and Metal Gear Solid. As far as honorable mentions, I was just thinking, Jose, I would put Tekken. I played a lot of Tekken with Andy and Ward and Jason Kent. A lot of
original Tekken or like Tekken 2 or what?
Whatever the Tekken 1, 2, whatever. There was a few of them on the PlayStation, and we played a lot of Tony Hawk. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else. That would probably be it for me. So Bubble Boy, let's hear your top 5 PlayStation 1 games.
Yeah,
I'm interested.
No, and those were great. We all have something a little different and something the same too. So my number 5, different racing game, but Need for Speed 3 Hot Pursuit, which that was the game that got me into racing.
That would have been my honorable mention. Yeah.
I picked up Gran Turismo when the PlayStation 2 came out, and I can remember being in college with Neil Cheesewright, the old Cheese, doing those endurance levels together. Like I'd go to class and he'd play, and then we'd pause, and I'd come back from class and he'd go to class and I'd play. And back at the time it meant nothing. I mean, I guess it doesn't mean anything now either, but like at least there would have been an achievement now or something we could have showed somebody, like, yeah, we did this 8-hour endurance level.
You got what was it, the A license? I remember Cito was trying to do one speeding challenge and he couldn't get it. He was like 0.01 seconds off and he just couldn't get it. Yeah, I'll never forget those stupid challenges. Keep going.
So anyway, not that had anything to do with Need for Speed 3, but number 4, Tony Hawk 2, and like Chapeau said, just so revolutionary at the time. And 1 was great because it started it all, but 2 really perfected a lot of things in that soundtrack that every song on there you could come on and you'd be like, "This is great." Yep, and
You
it's
still
helping
gold.
me.
You hear Goldfinger today, the Superman song, and you immediately think of Tony Hawk.
Yep, yep. Number 3, one that neither of you had, Tomb Raider 2. That was the peak of the Tomb Raiders for me. That really, 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 that was one of the games that like sucked me into gaming. And those were the ones where I would call Ryan Reynolds up and be like, "How do you beat this? What do you do?" He was my IGN wiki, I think, at the time. So, number 2, Metal Gear Solid. We can't say anything more than we haven't already said about it. And then number 1, obvious, Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, that's
I'm
good.
shocked. Well, I guess I shouldn't be shocked. You really love that Final Fantasy VII. So thank you so much for those top 5 PlayStation games. If you guys would like to have a video game related warm-up question or a top 5 food question, make sure to send it over to xboxrecordthis@gmail.com or hit us up on social media. Gentlemen, what have you guys been playing? And like I said, let's save the Halo impressions for that section later on. So, Chipotle, have you been able to play anything this week?
I did play just literally like maybe 30 minutes of Psychonauts. I was gone all last weekend on our little family reunion thing, which was really great. Good time to spend up in the mountains in Winter Park. It was beautiful. But because of that all weekend, and then we actually came back Monday and just busy week at school, I only got a little bit of time. So that's all I had time to really play. But obviously got invited to be part of the Waypoint crew, which we'll talk about. So that was mine. Bubble Boy, how about you?
Pretty much the same. I was really excited to pick up some Halo today. Outside of that, I've been playing Psychonauts. I will say I was really bummed. I have tried to play Psychonauts in bed on my backbone, and it has some major cross save stuff, yeah. And it's not been working, so I haven't been able to
Really?
I haven't been able to pick up the save, yeah. Which I should. I'm not going to complain too much because it is what it is. But that was kind of a bummer to me because I was looking forward to playing it in between sleeps.
Yeah, I know. I hear that. So I have been playing a lot of Psychonauts 2, you guys. I think I'm right before the last mission, and I'm at the point where like I don't want it to end. It's been a lot of fun. A pro tip: when you get to a beach level, keep your eyes out for those stupid figments, especially up high in some trees. That's a little pro tip for you. And also behind a door that goes into another area. Remember that. There's a telephone. Save you some time. I got stuck to where I'd have like 1 or 2 figments, and I was just brutal trying to find those pesky figments. So I'm loving it. I can't say enough good things about it. I can't wait for us to do a spoiler cast on it so we can discuss the levels. And then I've been grinding away at Destiny 2 because I don't know why, Chance. I don't even know why I play that game. And then we'll talk about the Halo tech test. So
I think you're playing it because you're itching for Halo, which we can
Yeah,
pick up
maybe.
as soon as we're done here. So whether we go back to the flighting or we start our XRT does reach.
Well, I mean, yeah, we could play the bots too if we really wanted to get some more practice. Speaking of Halo, let's jump into some Xbox news. Did you guys get a chance to see any of the Nintendo? I know that's not Xbox news. I guess I should say that first. We're gonna react to some of those Nintendo announcements to see what you guys think about this. I was not able to see the Nintendo Direct, so I'm gonna look at these just as we're sharing them, and I think we should do an Xbox record this or delete that for these topics. So, gentlemen, first up, let's talk about the Super Mario movie. Did you guys see this? Is this an Xbox record this or delete that?
Record this.
Does it have John Leguizamo in it?
No, so we don't need to talk about it, right? You're right.
Just real quick that it's
Yeah.
I'm pumped. I loved the old movie. I know it goes down as one.
I love the
people
old movie
think it's
too.
a terrible movie. I think it's a great movie. So I'm excited that they are not giving up on a Mario movie. I do love Chris Pratt. I love most of the people that they cast. So
Yeah, I think they did a good job with the casting. I think it's going to be interesting.
yeah.
Chance,
So
did you see any of the casts? Shady?
Sorry, sorry. Yeah, and Charlie Day, man,
As
that
Luigi,
Seth
ooh.
Rogen, come on.
Okay, yeah,
Like,
Seth
it's
Rogen
gonna
is-
be
and Jack Black
it
as well.
can't
It
not be great.
seems like they've got a pretty good cast, so I think I'm pretty excited about this. I'll definitely see it. So that actually might be the only thing I really care about from this.
Oh, it was the
Nintendo
most
Direct.
exciting part for me, seeing all those names.
Honestly, yeah. Let's move on. Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis are coming to Switch Online. Xbox record this or delete that? Chapo?
We don't have to talk extensively. Just it's cool. I have Nintendo Switch Online. It is fun. It's great for my kids because it's something they can play that I know that's safe and gets them into the life.
Yeah.
So I think it's rad, but we don't have to spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like getting younger kids to play older games. Chance, do you have any thoughts on it or no? No. I'm gonna say it right now. I think I've said this before. I don't think the Nintendo 64 was a good system. I don't know why for some people like I think Snell again a non shout out to Snelling. He thinks it's like one of his favorite systems of all time. Snelling, I don't get it. I don't that thing was blocky graphically, not very pretty, hasn't aged well. The controller was the worst ever.
Yeah, but you're viewing it from the perspective of 2021.
No, I'm viewing it as a person who had a PlayStation and a 64, and how my brother had the 64. We barely even played it. Only played Mario Kart. I don't know.
But I think it was revolutionary for how much
Besides
it got.
Ocarina
It
of
got
Time.
you to play with more than one player, like 3 and 4 player games. Like I know you didn't play a
Multiplayer.
lot of GoldenEye, but GoldenEye was huge in its day. Mario Party was huge in its day. Like it was cool that you could have 4 people playing at one time. We had never had that before in gaming.
Okay. We'll talk about Nintendo 64 another time. I'm just going to read off some new game announcement, guys, and after I read them, tell me if you want to talk about any of them. So, Animal Crossing gets a big update. Okay, whatever.
Delete it.
Kirby gets a new game called Kirby in the Forgotten Land, and this is whatever. Bayonetta 3, Monster Hunter Rise, Sunbreak. The original Knights of the Old Republic, which we do have on Xbox, you'll be able to play on the Switch. Square Enix is making Chocobo Grand Prix. It looks like
Mario Kart competitor.
that was it. That was the Nintendo Direct. All right,
No,
and
Arceus, right? Wasn't the Pokemon announced too? Arceus there? Oh, wasn't that one of them too? Well,
I don't know. To me, this just reaffirms that I don't need a Switch, and the only games I want to play are the new Metroid, not Metroid Dread, the real one that was announced way back when the Switch was announced. That who knows what happened to that game, and the next Zelda. But even then, Xbox delete this. Chance, Jose, do you guys have any thoughts on any more of these announcements?
Speaking
Jose,
of the N64, Ocarina of Time, that was a cool one to add on there. That'd be a fun one to go back and revisit. I know it's blocky. I know that.
Yeah, is it?
I'm just saying.
Is it good? I mean,
Oh, and the other one, didn't they announce the Castlevania thing, right? The quad
there's
quadrilogy.
like a
That could be kind of cool.
Castlevania. I'm not a big Castlevania guy. Chance, you guys, I think we've lost Chance. He looks like he's just about to pass out.
I will. There are 2 things I can remember, other than the things that Chapo mentioned about the N64. Was I can remember being jealous about not having one time when I went over to Joe Whitney's house and he was playing.
Remember Joe Whitney's basement, you guys? I thought that was like the coolest basement.
Yeah,
in the
that's
world.
where. And I remember, and he had the Star Wars. Squadron
Pod Racer.
Squad Race. No, it was because it wasn't a racing game; it was a fighting game. And that one, when I was just
Rogue
like,
Squadron or something, right?
oh yeah, I can't remember. But
Or
I
no,
remember
there
being
was a good 64 Star Wars game. It was the one with
and you could get out.
what
There were
was it?
times
I
where
have
you
to look it
got out and you were Boba Fett too.
yeah.
Um,
Keep going, Chance.
Gosh, somebody's gonna have to look that up. Other than, of course, I love playing GoldenEye and Mario Kart and Mario Party at Jose's house, but that was the other one I can remember down in Joe Whitney's basement. But I would have, had I still had my Switch, I would have been excited to play original KOTOR on there. But
Can't you do that with xCloud?
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Had I still had it, I would have preferred, because I'm not gonna. I don't think I'll probably try it on the streaming, but I'm not gonna sit down and
I think that would be
play
I think
KOTOR.
that would be a good one to stream actually to your phone. Honestly,
That's what I will do.
The game that there was one good Nintendo 64 game. Star Wars Shadows of the Empire was the name of the game, and that was a great game. Do you remember this? You would fly as the the snow speeders, do the AT mission, then you were out shooting people.
Yeah, I do remember that.
A good third person. This was an excellent.
That was
I do
it.
remember this.
Yep, that was the one.
This is a awesome game, and it was
That
about
was the
what was his name? The main character.
I
Oh,
gotta look it up right
Matthew,
now.
yeah, look
I
it up
know.
right now because Matthew's gonna kill me for not remembering his name. Anyway, okay, that if they somehow re-release that, I would absolutely buy that. But not on Nintendo. Next news item, you guys, is the Xbox Studios code names, new upcoming games, Project Indus and Cobalt. And I just want to read some of the details because this was from that NVIDIA leak. This is coming from Windows Central. I think this is their good old Jez Corden who said how Mass Effect 3, the entire game, was the ending. So basically, thanks to a recent database leak from NVIDIA, a slew of code names and possible projects flooded the internet. The leak revealed games like God of War for PC, Gears 6, and others. And then NVIDIA has since claimed that many of these were speculative. And documents that we've received prove that many of these projects are, in fact, real. Database entries included Project Typhoon, which we now know as the Avalanche Studios developed Heist 'em Up Contraband, which we did see at E3, that very brief trailer, which I was excited about. Project Holland was the next Fable. Project Woodstock was Forza Horizon 5. And the other ones were Project Indus, and that's coming from Oxide Games. I first heard about Indus back in spring of 2021, although was only able to confirm that the project is definitely going ahead thanks to the GeForce leak. Project Indus is a 4 times strategy game being developed by Oxide, known for its work on RTS titles. From what I understand, it's basically a turn-based strategic elements alongside city building, empire advancements, espionage, diplomacy, warfare, and so on. Project Cobalt is coming from In Exile Entertainment, and this is a new first-person shooter / RPG. And Cobalt, and is believed it has a steampunk style inspired by Industrial Revolution inspired tech. Expect steam engines, zeppelins, retro futuristic robots, dark Victorian era streets, and more. And the above concept art was shared by In Exile concept artists. And when this, well, I guess audio listeners can't really see it, and you guys can look at the article. Looks pretty cool. Kind of reminds me of what was that PlayStation 4 game? Chance, what was it with like the wolf people? And it was beautiful, but not a very good game.
Oh, 1664.
Yeah, Order 1886.
80.
That
Cyberpunk
game.
2077.
It looks like that. So it looks like that. That game has me interested. Chance, do any of these, the RTS games or this In Exile game, interest you from these leaks, these are real games. These are coming. And I remember hearing about that RTS game. That's might be coming out this spring. So maybe see something at the Game Awards. Any thoughts on the two games from the article?
Dash Rendar, first of all.
Dash Rendar, that's
Dash Rendar.
Yes.
The
Star Wars guys.
Yeah, the RTS. No, I have had the pleasure of I lived across the room, the hall, from Nick Tasteless Plot. If you don't know, I will make a tasteless plug for Nick Tasteless Plot. He's like the John Madden of StarCraft, and I used to go over to his room and watch him play StarCraft back in the day. And he's killing it over in Korea right now.
Yeah, didn't you tell me about
sick.
this?
It would make you sick to your stomach to watch him play. How fast he would do
the keyboard
that.
and mouse.
Yes,
and
it was absolutely insane. And it was cool because then he would come and play Halo with us and be just not wildly better than anybody else, but definitely good, but not like where we couldn't even hang with him or anything like it was in StarCraft. But he was once the number 2 ranked player in the world in StarCraft. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I know. And he would tell the story with just the best shit-eating grin on his face of the time
best
when
grin?
The best grin on his face of the actual real true story of his parents being like, Nick, get off that damn game. You're never going to. And it's like, yeah, okay. And then I get to drop out of college and get paid to travel all over the world. And
Yeah, I remember you telling me
do
about this
that.
guy.
But anyway, long story short, like those look extremely fun to me until you realize like you have to put major work into them to be even halfway good.
Can you tell me
That's kind of
how
a
does that compare to like Gears Tactics? Just like a much
oh
smaller scale
well,
or Wasteland?
and I think with Gears Tactics, or not, I think they're turn-based a lot of times. Is the way that I think about it. Those tactics
Okay.
ones, and that the like a World of or StarCraft, I mean, is more competitive. Than
And that's real time too, so it's not turn based. Okay. Okay. But what about the steampunk game? Like I thought that actually looks really cool. I'm excited for that NXL
yeah,
game.
anything
Like,
in
I could
that
see
universe, I'll be interested in.
yeah. Yeah, because you're a big England Victorian guy.
Yeah,
Jose, any thoughts on the leaks?
I mean, a very similar, like, I actually a little bit opposite of Chance. I've never been into real time strategy. Like, I totally I respect StarCraft, Command and Conquer, that kind of stuff. It's just those have never really appealed to me, and it sounds like it's kind of that mix with like Civilization, which again, totally respect, super cool. I know a lot of people love it. Goose is a huge fan. I never could get into it on a console. I feel like it's more of a PC. You need the mouse to click and stuff. But maybe I'm wrong. I wish them well, of course. But yeah, the Cobalt one, the steampunk, I almost thought of like almost like a spiritual successor to BioShock 3, right? So where you're kind of in that revolutionary, it's a first person. I don't know if they'll have the magical elements that BioShock does, but the steampunk, I love steampunk stuff. I think that'd be an awesome universe, and especially if it's got the RPG elements, it could be really cool. That makes me really excited.
Yeah, definitely excited for that one. And speaking of, that's funny you said BioShock 3. I am actually going to replay that soon. That's actually I installed that. So I'd replayed 1 and 2 because I'd never played 2. I finally got to 2. I remember Jose liked that one. And I've played Infinite before. I played that actually when it was backwards compatible, but I was like, I might as well finish the trilogy. And I hear the DLC is pretty good because I think you go back to wherever the first, I can't remember the
Rapture.
first one, Rapture. And so I'm excited to play that. But the thing with Infinite, I feel like that was a very bright and vivid game. Like, even though you're right, it was steampunk, but I just felt like it was just such a more like, I guess, positive, not so like as a Debbie Downer of a setting as I see from these pictures in the order, like where it's like
but gritty
smoky and
and like,
exactly.
you like Rocketeer. I love the Rocketeer as a kid.
yeah.
I'd love to play in that universe, so that could be cool.
Speaking, okay, I thought there was a rumor about a Rocketeer game. I think I did read about that where it was canceled. But anyway, all right, guys, let's move in to the next news item, and this is what I'm excited to hear your impressions since we were able to play this a little bit. The Halo Infinite multiplayer technical preview has started, guys. If you're listening to this now, when we drop this on Monday, I'm sorry you missed the first weekend. But here's the schedule for. I might as well say it. It was this weekend, the 24th through the 26th. So it started this morning. Bubble Boy was able to play between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. These are all Pacific times. Then 5 to 9 p.m. Pacific. Then tomorrow on Saturday the 25th, 10 a.m. to 2, 5 p.m. to 9. And then again on Sunday, same times. And then next weekend, it will be all the same times, 10 a.m. to 2, 5 to 9 for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for multiplayer. But I do believe next weekend is going to be the big team battle. So this week is just Arena Slayer, and then the next week is big team battle. I believe in between those times, I'm not sure if you can just play bots or do the training.
You can.
Okay. So let's hear it, guys. What did you think so far of what this very little you've seen from the Halo Infinite tech test? Give me your first impressions from playing the game. I'm gonna go with Chapeau Bear right away. Chapeau, what did you think after?
So I should qualify that I only got to do like 1 or 2 quick games with the bots right when I got home because I thought I was going to make the afternoon session and I missed it by like literally minutes. Because they tweeted out like, hey, we're closed for the next couple hours. They were doing server stuff. And actually, real quick, just a note on that. That was actually something I thought was really cool in all the notes that they send in the Waypoint email was they said like, really the purpose of this test is to stress our servers. Like that's what we're trying to figure out because we know it's going to be a huge launch and we want it to work seamlessly from day one. And I will say, honestly, it's worked. I don't want to say completely flawlessly, but it's been pretty close. Like definitely nothing where we're waiting extensive times to get into matches and stuff like that. And obviously like we in a real scenario, we would take time to like customize our guys and loadouts. And if you have the battle pass and all that stuff, but it's been really, really smooth. My initial thoughts are just like, we said this so many times. It just felt so good to be back in Halo land again. Just remastering the controls for our hands and the timing. And one thing that I remember when I was young was I knew the levels. Like I knew every aspect of every level. I knew where the weapons dropped. I knew how to do it all, and I don't know anything in Infinite. It's just been so long. So that's both exciting and a little frustrating because there are obviously some real good players out there, but like any game, if you get some grinded out in there, you'll be all right in no time. And we've played all kinds of levels. That was the other thing I just wanted to mention was there are games we played where we just crushed the other team, and there are games we played where we got absolutely destroyed. And as the resident person who everyone carries on our team, I can tell you that I'm still having a blast, even though I'm getting fourth place pretty consistently.
So Chapo, why don't you tell me like what you're impressed by? And I agree, the matchmaking load times, like you're right, I didn't even think about it. Like it loads quick into games. What are some things that give me a couple of like what you're impressed with, and then maybe do you have any concerns so far from what you've seen?
I don't have any concerns, to be clear about that. What I've really been impressed by is I really like the standard rifle that you get as your loadout, because I felt like in some of the older Halo multiplayer games, weak. It was weak to the point where you wanted to get rid of it immediately and just find literally anything else, and often that meant like the plasma gun or the needler, and I've just never been a fan of the needler. And so I like that this one, like I don't feel that necessary desire. Like sometimes I want a different gun just to play around, but I really like the battle rifle and the pistol. The pistol that you have as a default, I really like that you can be real precise with it. Other than that, I like that you don't get as much kick around like you do in like Warfare or Warzone, I should say, like when you have like kickback from your gun where you're missing a lot of the bullets. I don't feel like that's as extreme in Halo, which I really appreciate. But because you can jump so high and people are flying all over the place, like that part adds a whole nother element, like a vertical element to the game that you don't see in other games, which I really like as well. So that's what I would say.
Nice. I will say, I don't know if you guys knew this. As far as controls are concerned, you can literally remap any button to what you want it to be, which is key. Every game, developers, please do this. Let us pick what we want each button to do. And for some reason, though, it was weird. The only reason I noticed that is that my Y button wasn't binded to anything. So I was playing the first few games. I'm like, why is my guy not changing his weapon? Very bizarre. I don't know. Maybe I went in there before the tech test and my Y was just blanked out. So I fixed that. So very cool. I love that you can bind whatever button you want. And then the other thing was, well, actually, go ahead, Bubble Boy. Let me hear your thoughts. I'll tell you another pro tip after.
Yeah, to reiterate what Chapo said, the thing that I was hoping to see more than anything was the matchmaking time and how quickly we could get in and out of games with each other too. And I remember I was trying to ask you guys to get into your fire team, and I was already there before I finished my sentence. I just didn't realize it because you were already in a game, and that's how quick and instant it was. And obviously there's a fraction of the number of people right now, but that's the point of what we're doing right now, right? So that was really, really cool to be able to see that was well, and it probably will change a little, maybe not on the front end of things, but on the once you're loading into games, especially with that big team battle. We'll see when there's supposed to be 100 and some people in there instead of just 8. But so far, really, really impressed. I'll say my favorite part was in any game like that, when you go in and it's just you and then 2 other people and you get them both and you get a double kill. It's always fun, but there's nothing like it other than in Halo. And then he says double kill, right? Like it's just unbeatable.
Perfect. I love the perfect medal. That might be my new favorite one.
What's that? I don't think I've ever heard that one.
Perfect. No, are you serious?
Yeah, it's a joke.
I will say, Jose, that's what I wanted to go back to. You mentioned that there's not much recoil. I kind of disagree with you. If you are zoomed in and shooting, there's definitely more recoil when you're aiming down sights, like especially with that, whatever that new kind of battle rifle gun is. Not the battle rifle though, but you know what I'm talking about. There is definitely more kick, and with the battle rifle, so you just time it. So it's always better in Halo games traditionally just to hip fire as always.
But I meant compared to Warzone. The kickback in Halo is not as bad as Warzone. But the one thing, actually, now that you said that, the one thing that I haven't loved so far, and I'm sure it's just getting used to it, is when you are zoomed in with a battle rifle, not the sniper rifle, and you get hit, it automatically kicks you back out. And I get that's realistic, but then you that's a little annoying to me. So I don't know if that's just a quirk I got to get used to or what. But that was the only tiny complaint I have.
Yeah, no, and I understand, but that's definitely just a Halo thing that we're just not used to. because you're right, in the Warzone, you can just be getting lit up, but you can still stay down sites. It's because they don't want you to. I will say, guys, I love it. I think the graphics are really good. I think it plays really well. I don't have really many complaints. I will give some feedback coming because I did play in the first tech test. I feel like they dumbed down the melee a little bit. I feel like you're not getting a lunge as much as that you did before, and I'm interested to see what the feedback is on this because I feel like my melee is just completely worthless, and it shouldn't feel like that. In Halo, you should have a good melee, and there should be a little. I'm not saying like a Destiny lunge, but it needs to be in between Destiny and Halo, like what it is now. So my complaint would be the lunge. Let me finish, and then weapons. Like Jose was saying, he doesn't know where they are on the map. I don't know where they are either. I feel like in the first tech test, they had them like more visibly marked. I feel like they toned it down a little bit. So I don't even know where some of the guns are this time. I think they need to adjust the visual cues on where weapons are. Those are like the two things I'm noticing coming from the last one where I feel like they're different. It could be in my mind, but I don't know. I think they definitely nerfed those two things. And the last thing I was going to say is I think it's super cool with the intros where they're all doing their little weird poses and everything and just getting pumped up. The music, again, phenomenal. You guys didn't even comment on it. Super underrated. I can't wait to hear all of the Halo music. And Chance, go ahead. What were you going to say about when I was talking about the melee stuff?
The grapple melee was one I still haven't been able to pull off, and I don't know if that has been slowed down or did you feel a massive difference from the first one?
I do feel like they slowed it down for sure. And whenever I got it in the other game, and I thought I made a clip of it, I thought if you managed to grapple the guy and then melee him, I thought it killed him, but I don't think it does. Like I feel like maybe you have to start shooting. I don't even know. I didn't even think about this. Maybe you have to start shooting him and then melee him. But I did get one kill with that. But I feel like in the first tech test, you could just grapple them, and then once you got up to them, melee them, they were dead. So Jose, what were you going to say?
Totally unrelated. I did actually get a melee kill from the grappling hook, and it did work for me. I know it didn't work for you, Dan. It worked. The only thing I will comment it was way slower than I was expecting. Like I was like,
and I think,
okay,
I think they might have adjusted it to give like the person who's been grappled to a chance to kill the person.
Because I've gotten that award too. A guy grappled me, and I killed him on the way in, and you get a little award for that called Whiplash. It's fun.
Yeah.
But I was going to say one other thing that I noticed in the tech test that I really liked and made me so excited was the customization. And you don't even really get to do that much of it in the tech test, but you can see that the bones are going to be there.
Yeah.
And like the battle pass system is going to be rad. And that was one question I had for you guys. I know that the battle pass costs, quote unquote, 250 credits. Do we have any idea what that's going to be in real dollars? I just didn't know.
No, I mean, I'm guessing it's probably gonna be like every other battle pass I've paid for is what, right? 20
bucks,
like
right?
I'm sure it'll be similar to whatever Call of Duty is. So yeah, no,
I just figure now it's just take my money.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially since it's on Game Pass. Or actually, multiplayer is free to play, so I have no problem playing for a battle pass.
Oh, yeah,
any other closing thoughts, guys, on Halo?
I want to give a shout out to and I'm sure there's some sort of story element to it, but one of the things you can customize are prosthetics, and I think that's kind of cool. Something different that I haven't seen in other games that in a war like military setting is a very realistic thing, and I'm sure that makes quite a few people feel pretty included.
Yeah, that was cool, man.
Yeah, shout out to all the customization, and shout out to 343. I'm praying. I just hope this campaign comes through because I think they're finally. It seems like all the momentum is in their favor, and I hope they knock it out of the park. They really need this, and kind of feeding off of Xbox needing a win on a first party game. Let's close off with this final news story, and I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say about this one. And I find this a little shocking. So, Crystal Dynamics, and this is coming straight from. Actually, I'll read the tweet from the initiative. Perfect Dark update. We are partnering with Crystal Dynamics, the world-class team behind character-driven games such as Tomb Raider, and I think they did the Avengers game, to bring this first-person spy thriller to a new generation. They followed it up. This is coming from the initiative's Twitter account, by the way, on the 23rd, just the other day, yesterday. The teams couldn't pass up a chance to work together. We're still early in development, but incredibly excited to use this unique opportunity to deliver on the vision for Perfect Dark. And I love the first, my top comment is from Chris Reagan over at Sacred Symbols. Big Halo guy, by the way, big Xbox guy, but he hosts that PlayStation podcast with Colin Moriarty. He says, "This is baffling." It was his first thing. So I just want to remind everyone that the Initiative is Microsoft's first brand new studio that was created years ago before the Xbox, I believe around the One X was announced and before the Series X. To create they were the first, they quoted themselves saying the first quadruple A studio. Okay. And now there's this running meme going around that this is going to be the first quadruple A plus triple A, the first 7A game we've ever played in the history of gaming because they are partnering up. Gentlemen, how do you feel about the Initiative having to call in basically to team up with Crystal Dynamics? And I want to give some context with Clobrel, the good old Xbox leaker, who also quoted this tweet saying, Crystal Dynamics is joining the Initiative on the development of Perfect Dark. Daniel Gallagher is the studio head at the Initiative, previously the studio head at Crystal Dynamics. So this seems like a natural outsourcing resource to boost development based on past connections. And also following that Perfect Dark tweet with what Chris Reagan saying, "This is baffling," someone commented underneath him saying, "No, it isn't. The entire setup of the studio is to be small and agile and work with other studios to outsource their projects a fair bit. This has been known for years." Gentlemen, Jose, Chance, whoever wants to go first, do you think this is mostly a negative thing, or should we stay positive and think that them going to another AAA studio for help is only going to make this game better? Or is this another red flag for an Xbox studio needing help with some sort of direction on this game because they can't handle it on their own? Chabot, let me go with you because I know you probably have some. You're probably going to.
Well, I have a positive outtake. So why don't we let you or Chance go first, and I'll wrap it up.
Well,
on the
immediately when I saw this, I was concerned. Not that I don't think Crystal Dynamics is. I think it's cool that they're pairing up, and I would hope that they would make a great game together. And I get that companies outsource a lot, but usually I was listening to David Jaffe, who was the creator of God of War, and now he's left PlayStation. He does his own thing. And he had a little 5-minute, 10-minute discussion on it. And he was saying, yes, that usually happens, but it's never usually publicly announced like this. And he's like, to him, he's like, this seems like they're in trouble. But he's like, it could be a good thing because Microsoft is saying, hey, we want you to follow through on your vision. Let's get you some help, which could be a good thing. But he's like, to me, he's like, it doesn't look good, but he's like, it's either going to be horrible or it could be the best thing ever and it could really work out. And going on that, Chance, do you is yours mostly negative or
no?
I mean, like, let me just say this again. I like Crystal Dynamics games. I love the Tomb Raiders. I'm hoping like I said, like this will bring them together and they'll be able to create something really awesome. But initially, I'm concerned. And the other concerning thing that's I don't think anybody's mentioned this, or maybe they have, but I remember the studio head of the Initiative was, I can't remember his name. I'm gonna have to look it up on Twitter. But anyway, it was the guy who came from Sunset Overdrive and what's the studio that does Spider-Man that we were just talking about? Insomniac. He was at Insomniac, left, started the Initiative, was the studio head there, or one of the main guys there, and then he recently left last year and he went back to Insomniac. I remember this last year. I remember I was like, whoa, why is he leaving the Initiative? And he's going back, and I was very excited about what he was bringing to the Initiative, and he was there when they announced Perfect Dark. But then right after the game was announced, literally he left to go back to Insomniac. So that to me is like a little bit even adding more to my concern about the Initiative and this game. But again, I love Crystal Dynamics. I want this to be a good thing, but to me, it's a red flag. Chance, go ahead.
What it would worry me is that if it becomes like a too many cooks situation, right? And I think maybe I don't know. I think am allowed to say it. You can delete it if not. The more specifically, too many chiefs and not enough Indians on this one. That if there's so many big companies getting in on it, like which one's really gonna be able to take the lead and be like, hey, no, this is our game still, and this is how we're gonna do it. But I will also say that I don't think there's absolutely nothing wrong with asking for help. If it's going to help them improve their game, more power to them for having the courage to ask for help. So I'm gonna trust and hope that it's a good thing for right now. But I could see that being oh man, right. What was Adult Swim, right, on the Too Many Cooks? Raise your hand if you ever finished that.
Too many. Oh, now I'm getting stuck in my head.
Too many cooks.
Too many cooks. Anyway, so
takes a lot to make us stew.
That's a really good point. You're right. To have the courage to say, hey, we need help, and to get it out there instead of having it hidden in the background. Maybe you're right. And to be fair, this is a brand new from the ground up studio. And maybe they just need maybe they really do need more talent and a little bit more resources that they might not have or are still building towards having. So, Jose, build on that positive outlook and let me hear what you think.
So, I mean, Chance basically hit where I was going in the sense that, like, I do, we talk about this a lot during COVID, but everything from chip shortages to resources like manpower with hiring and stuff, everybody's hurting worldwide. And so, I mean, just look at what happened with Battlefield. Right, like they just had to push it back. Right, we keep seeing this with major studios that have even had lots of time, even maybe have already even had one pushback. They just need more time and more people. And so, if the studio head of the initiative or one of them had friends, he'd worked with Crystal Dynamics and he trusted them, and he said, like, look, we need help. This could be a great partnership. I do respect them for obviously being willing to say that publicly because, like you said, that's not very common. And Crystal Dynamics, because just in case you were curious at home and you didn't know, Crystal Dynamics has done the new Tomb Raiders. So we're talking like Rise of the Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, like great games that we've already praised on this show many times. That makes me excited. I mean, I in the same vein, I was a little worried, like Chance said, like, ooh, that could be a lot of leaders instead of a lot of people building. But again, it seems like a very smart and strategic move. And the other part of this that might be maybe just a dream, like for me, but it could be behind the scenes, is this could be another way of bringing in another AAA studio into the Xbox family, right? You think about having Crystal Dynamics games permanently in like the Game Pass catalog and family. That's not a bad thing if this goes well. So that could be another piece of this to consider. But in other words, I totally agree with what Chance said.
Yeah, the main director for Sunset Overdrive, he was one of them, is Drew Murray was the guy, and I follow him on Twitter. He did leave, and then he was the studio head, I believe, at the initiative. And then, like, I remember it was so weird because it was right after they announced it. Maybe he just didn't love the project, or what with Perfect Dark. Maybe he didn't like the direction it was going, and maybe that's why these studios are coming in. I don't know, but again, to me, I can't help but be a little worried because I feel like Xbox already has a management issue with their studios, and they tend to miss more than they do make great games. So I hope this is a good thing. I hope it's a great partnership. I hope it only makes the game better. I like Crystal Dynamics. I want to play. I have no history with Perfect Dark. Like, I've never played any of them, so I know nothing about it. So I'm hoping for a great game to return, an IP that some people love. So I hope it's positive moving forward. Jose, why don't we have you introduce us to the good old days this week, my friend?
Well, I'll be honest with you, we're already kind of running a little bit long, and we only have 30 minutes left on our Halo test tonight, so we might want to start wrapping it up. So in the interest, I might push it back to next week for our listeners. We're going to talk about whatever happened to all of our old systems. We've mentioned many times that we had lots of them.
No, we can go. Mine's quick.
Okay.
I got rid of my old systems. Like, I don't have any of them. I sold them or I traded them in.
But
the only ones I have, I'll tell you, the only ones I do have, which, by the way, Pony stole from me, and I kept, for some reason, I had the force. I'd be like, I should hang on to my Super Nintendo. I still have my original Super Nintendo. Matthew has it. It still works. Everything's great on it. I want that back, Matthew. And I know you're not listening. I'm getting that back. And then I have the only previous gen, especially with backwards compatibility. Why would you have a One X or an Xbox One or an Xbox 360 when everything works on that system back there. The only and
I'll
same
tell
with,
you why in a minute.
Okay, well, whatever. And then I have a PS4 Pro for some reason. Barely use that. That's just a prop. And the only other old console, and this one's going to throw you guys for a loop. I have a PS3 for some reason because I
You
played
bought it to play that game.
to play Mass Effect and to get all of
Yeah.
my trophies originally during quarantine. I paid like $60 for it from a guy, and it still works. And it's horrible, and it's slow, and it's much worse than you remember. So death to the PS3. I don't keep my old consoles. I don't know why. I would trade up like any normal person would. I don't know why you would keep these. I hate clutter. I like, Jose knows I want to be organized, get rid of the caca in my house. I'm not a hoarder, and I can't stand it. So, Bubble Boy, tell me why I would hold on to these
Well,
old systems.
so this is what I've always done, and I laugh all the way to the bank every time. So every once in a while, GameStop will screw up and have these deals where if you trade in a console and a certain game at the same time and put it towards something else, it like exponentially gets you rewards and stuff. And I do it every time, and every time they're like, this can't be real, and I'm like, help me out here, like just type the codes in and you leave. I'll turn in like, so as soon as they do it again, I'll turn in my old Xbox Series X, or Jesus, not that one, my old Xbox One X, and they'll be like, put it towards Perfect Dark, and you don't even ever have to actually buy Perfect Dark, but you just put the $5 towards it, and it gives you like 80% extra because it like stacks all these other deals on it.
Yeah.
I can remember getting,
There was one, I remember one. There was one where I traded in my 1S and I got my Switch for free, which was $300
Yes,
basically.
yes.
And so it's funny you mentioned that, Chance. There was a deal just this week that I saw in Slick Deals saying if I traded in that PS4 Pro, which I bought from a guy for $250, I could have traded it into GameStop for $275. So I would have made money on this. And I thought about it.
Yep.
But it was
and
only
you get
towards
your
GameStop credit.
you get your pro thing redone every time, right? So like that, to answer your question, Chapo, that is where all my old
But
systems
he's still
are, is-
essentially trading them in. He's not. He's just doing it at certain times.
Well, yeah, no, it's the exact same thing. I'm just waiting for like the right deal to come up to where I can, there's no way GameStop has ever made a dime off of me. I've never paid. I don't even think like full price. Definitely, I don't even think I ever paid like half price for a game at GameStop. They're just in the red for me.
Chapo Bear, since you brought this up, what are your crazy stories? I'm guaranteeing you don't have any of your old consoles either. So,
Well,
tell me why you brought it
no.
up, and then tell me about.
Well, I was
what
just
you
curious
did with
because, like, so the reason I thought about it was actually, believe it or not, because of Pokemon cards. Because I still have a bunch, not all, but a bunch of my original Pokemon cards, like valuable ones, and like they're real hot right now. I know that, and everyone's like, "Are you going to sell them?" And I said, "No, they're not for me. They're for my children because when they're my age, they're going to be worth a lot of money." And so, it got me thinking about like stuff that we keep from childhood. And since this is about video games, like that's a good question. And the reason it also came up for me was because my most beloved system of all my old systems was my SNES as well, just like you, Dan, because it was my first system. I easily had the most games for it by the time I didn't get rid of it. But what ended up happening was we had gotten our 64. I had a PS1, and I also had the Xbox, the original one. My mom was like, "You never play this. You need to give it to your cousin in California." And I did, and he kept it for a couple years, and then he just got rid of it. And he never told me. And I was like, I would have taken it back. I would have stored it. I literally probably gave him 50 plus games with it. And I still regret that decision that I did not get that back, because it would just be cool to have.
He traded it for a picture of a boob.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, honestly, most of them, like I traded in a bunch of like the 64, the Xbox, and a PS2 for a PS3, because I was originally a big Xbox guy, but all of our friend group was really heavy into PS2. And so I was like, finally, like when the next generation was coming out, the 360 and the PS3, I was like, okay, we're going in PlayStation.
Bad pick there.
And it was a terrible pick. It is Chance's fault because he was a big PlayStation guy. And then eventually, when he and I moved in together as young adults, that's when we got into 360. That's when we were reunited with Diwali, right? So that was an important part of our life. And for Badco too, right? That was our big unifier.
Dude, Battlefield, yeah.
So much fun.
Badco 2, that was the one that did it. Yep.
And then more recent ones, you know, PS4 I had bought at Christmas time because they had like that crazy deal with the
that was a
Spider-Man
crazy
game.
deal, yeah.
And I was able to get one, and then I sold that obviously as we anticipated the Series X coming out, just to have the cash and stuff. But
And
since
if
we're
you had
talking,
held on to that and sold it during the pandemic, during this shortage,
I could have doubled what I made on it, and I made good money on it, to be fair. But since I had mentioned it earlier, I know the listeners are going to want to know. I'd mentioned the Terrell Davis thing with the PlayStation. Remember that?
Let's hear it.
Real quick. So basically, when I was in, I don't know, whenever, I think I was in like 6th grade or something, Terrell Davis, who was a Denver Bronco, he started a foundation, like a kids foundation, and he wanted a logo. And our art teacher at Foothills Elementary, Miss Muniz, was like, "You should do this." And I was like, "I'm not going to win this." And my mom was like, "You should do this." And so I don't even remember what I draw, to be honest with you. But what was crazy is there were 10 kids that entered. That's it. Only 10 entered. And so Terrell Davis gave all of us a PlayStation 1 and Game Day because he was on the cover of Game Day that year. And he also invited us to a Bronco game, and we got to sit with his family. So I literally sat with like his mom and his grandma. I never got to meet him himself, but he gave me a PlayStation. Like, I'll never forget it, man.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Go TD. And by the way, guys, he's not just a Broncos player. He's a Broncos Hall of Fame running back.
Hall of Famer.
Okay,
Amazing.
so amazing player, one of the all-time great, and just a great guy too. Yeah. So shout out to TD. Even Chance loves the mile. He's even given the Mile High salute.
I gave the
right
Mile
now.
High salute just for TD.
Just for TD. I will say about the old consoles, my brother's the opposite of me. He holds on to everything, and God bless him because he's still got the Nintendo, and I'm sure it'll be in good hands with him. So, and I remember Colin Moriarty from Sacred Symbol. He's always big. He's like, never sell your hardware, never ever sell your hardware. And to me, I just don't want that junk around. It just doesn't really make sense, especially now with backwards compatibility. I mean, the PlayStation is there just as another, streaming device
for you.
Really, it is into streaming upstairs sometimes. So thank you, Jose, for the good old days. Again, guys, if you have any questions or concerns, or if you'd like to contribute to the good old days, remember Xbox record this across all social media. Hit us up, send us your ideas. Gentlemen, what was the best food you had this week? I'll go first very quickly because mine's boring. I had Popeyes again. I had a spicy chicken again. And you guys already know this. I kind of think I have a problem because I think I got it twice this week. It's just so convenient being where I work, having like two, basically both on the way home. Oh, wait, no. I have to bring this up. I forgot.
Your pizza. You got to tell me about
tried
pizza.
Pizza Hut tonight because you guys are talking such a high game on it. I still stand. It's still not in my top 5. I will say their crust, tasty, very tasty. Their stuffed crust, pretty good. The seasonings they have, pretty good. But even Allie, shout out to my wife, who loves. She was the only one who really likes pizza. She was all excited when I said, "Let's get pizza." She's like, "Oh, I want stuffed crust." Even she was like, "The cheese pizza, it's just kind of there. It doesn't really taste like anything." And I'm like, yeah.
Well, stop buying janky cheese pizza.
Nope. If there's stock cheese pizza is not
toppings.
good. No, Jose, this goes back to the base sandwiches thing.
That's different.
No.
Okay,
It's
but
different.
but that's the base
Pizza-
for all their pizza, though, guys. That's what I'm saying. If you can't even make a good cheese pizza, that's not
You
a
can't
good
say that and then
sign.
order a barbecue chicken pizza at the same time.
I recently had Blackjack recently, delicious. I recently had the Costco,
No.
better. All of my other pizzas are better than their standard cheese pizza. That's the problem.
You're a traitor to your childhood.
I did. Again, I remember being so excited to get this little personal pan pizza. It was mostly a huge crust and barely any pizza, and the breadsticks were caca. You guys, we can't live on nostalgia for
You're
taste.
caca.
It's not a good tasting pizza. I stand by it. Will say I did enjoy my buffalo chicken, but not enough to move it up. Their base pizza is not very good. Pizza Hut is overrated. Still off my list. Banned. Even Allie said boring. And I saw Chance nodding his head. Yeah, it is kind of boring and not very good, their cheese pizza. So
That's not
Pizza Hut,
what. That
get
is
'em
not
out.
at all what you saw.
Get
I
'em
was just
out.
gonna add. You can't out Pizza the Hut.
Oh, God. All right, moving on. Somebody else. What was the best food you had this week? Along with Popeye's spicy chicken.
I had the breakfast migas at Fuzzy's Tacos this morning, and just one of the better breakfasts I think you can get for fairly cheap. Not a big deal, but you get the refried beans and cheese, you get the potatoes, and then the main part of it is tortilla strips, chorizo, eggs, onions, jalapenos all chopped up, and then they give you 3 little soft flour tortillas, which is just perfect. And it's so hard to beat.
And Chance is not a big egg guy. He's historically
can't
not
stand
liked
it.
eggs.
Yeah,
Love eggs.
that's the only way I can eat
Best
eggs
food.
is if they're disguised with like 1,000 other things, like in a breakfast burrito. So
Very disappointing.
those were delicious. What the concept of an egg? Tell me, there's anything but disgusting.
Great protein.
The
good for
concept of
you.
an egg.
Concept.
You
of
could
it.
say that about anything you cook. Anyway, my kids love. I'm like, you guys want some eggs for breakfast? Yeah,
Yeah, of
good.
course.
It's
I love
healthy.
eggs.
Good
People
for
do.
you. Jose, what was the best food? Before you talk, Jose, tacos rapidos. What do I got to get again?
Just
when
a
I go there?
bacon burrito or the carne asada fries. That's what you need to get.
Okay, I'm gonna get that tomorrow. Remind me. Send me a text tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm
Jose.
going
Go
next
ahead.
week. I'm going to get it for me and Morse. Anyway, best thing I had this week was last weekend at the family thing. It's what we in my family call the Rocky Ford breakfast. So my dad's family is from Rocky Ford, Colorado. It's in southeast Colorado.
Go Mountaineers.
For watermelons and cantaloupes are what they're famous for. But it's a farming community.
I
right?
thought you
And
said.
so-
I thought you were saying Rocky Flats. I'm like, there a nuclear family up there. Let's go.
Hills Have Eyes breakfast. No, so they Rocky Ford breakfast is basically just bacon and eggs and green chili, but we cook the bacon first, and it's real pork bacon, and then we cook the eggs in the bacon grease. And then we obviously make tortillas and green chili. And usually at my grandma's house, we actually make like homemade tortillas. Like she makes them from scratch. They're delicious. We were at this cabin, and so we just bought them. But it's a breakfast that we would literally never eat here at our house during a normal year. We know it's incredibly unhealthy for you. But, as we were on vacation, obviously with grandma, and it was a staple of growing up, like that's what we had, which was absolutely phenomenal. Colorado, if you've never had like green chili from around here, this is green chili season right now. You can get like fresh green chili all over the place. Absolutely worth the money. It goes great on everything, including just straight up green chili and butter in a tortilla. Is delicious. So that's what I had this week.
And speaking of tortillas and rolling your R's, I recently watched a YouTube video on how to pronounce gyros, and that's how you pronounce it. That's the only way I can roll my R's is if I say gyros.
That's a Greek word.
I know, but it's helping me say it, rolling my R's. And shout out to
Gyros.
the gyro slices from Costco that we also had this week, which were very delicious. So thank you so much, boys. This has been Xbox Record This, episode 21. A quick one, guys. We're trying to get back onto the Halo Infinite.
Yeah, in honor
minutes.
of the flight.
For the flight, so we're cutting a little early. So as always, you can follow the show at Xbox Record This across all social media. You can follow me at Daddy Diwali. Chipotle Bear, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Chipotle Bear, Twitter, Chipotle_Bear.
And you can try to find Bubble Boy N7 somewhere. I don't know where he is half the time. As always, Spartans,
See you online.
See you online.
Xbox Record This is a podcast created by Daniel Walensik. You can follow him at Daddy Diwali on all social media. The assistant to the co-host is Jose Martinez, and you can follow him at Chipotle_Bear on Twitter. The assistant to the co-host is Chance Siegel, and you can follow him at BubbleBoyN7. You can follow the show at Xbox Record This on all social media. If you'd like to find out more about the show, visit xboxrecordthis.com.